As Kenyans, we are all Kenyans, not talking of the ethnic group or the tribalism and things. And the tribalism is the thing which has brought the conflict in this country.
It's not tribe that's our problem, it's tribalism. The effect of that decentralization of tribalism is what took us to what we had in 2008.
This is a situation which have often resulted into constant tensions and conflict among these tribes.
The Commission of Inquiry into Post-Election Violence went into our very villages to seek the truth. Who killed who? Who raped who? Who did what? What did the police do?
Our country is far from unity and national cohesion. The formation of numerous ethnic political groupings is a key factor that is worrying.
In this area we have been having violence during election time because of the incitement of the politicians of either community. The Kikuyu, the Kalenjin, the Luos, each one wanting to have power, to have political power. And whenever we see a Kikuyu, an aspirant, and a Kalenjin aspirant here, they incite the community, the Kalenjin incite their own, and the Kikuyu incite their own. So now, the communities start war.
In 2007, we saw the people of Kenya were already divided into two camps, ODM and PNU. And this was clear in around July of 2007 when the people began to do campaigns. ODM was raising a lot of caution to the people here that the election will be rigged. PNU were doing the same. So on 29, when the results were announced, that is the moment when now the two groups, others began to celebrate, others began to mourn, and then there was the violence.
The conflict was politics. It was not about land. Yeah, it was politics, and then the tribe thing came. The tribe thing came because those Kikuyus were being driven out of Kisumu and other parts of the country. Luos were being driven out from other parts of the country also. So it was much politics and tribe.
Tribal differences have always existed, and like land, they have all been easy to manipulate because they are things which never change, and it is easier for politicians to mobilize. How do you do it? One, you mobilize your community by presenting it as under siege, so you get their unity, and who is putting them under siege? Another community. So differences have not been about the tribes, or the conflicts have not been about tribe. It has been that ethnicity or tribe can easily be used to mobilize the community, and it is about attaining power or retaining power. To understand conflicts in the multi-party era is to go back to the 1963, 1969. That is when the seeds of the current conflicts were actually planted, either in terms of the ruling party can then starting to use violence to retain power, or you find the historical injustices like the land issues. That is when they were planted. Of the seeds for what we had in 2007, 2008 were actually planted in 2005 when we had the referendum. At the referendum, there was a move to marginalize other communities. And using the mobilization around ethnicity, around control of state house, around land, and using the grievances of marginalization by by militias, then everybody who was involved in peace issues could see that we were headed for some violence.
When we got independence, we did not craft a nation. We left each nationalities, and there was no attempt to make sure the Pokots, for example, the Turkanas, feel that they're in one nation with the Taitas, with the Mijikendas at the coast, with the Merus and other. So we left on our allegiances to these ethnicities. So that when we have problem with unemployment, we don't look at it as a national problem. We look at it as my people don't have a job. But we're not saying, what do we need to create as a nation to make sure that everybody has a job? For a very long time in this country, the way the politician mobilized the way they mobilized power was through ethnicity, playing one community against the other. And we're saying, we saw where that took us in 2000 and 2008. And we're saying, it's okay, you can do your politics, no problem. But you cannot do politics by mobilizing your community against the other, by calling other people strangers, by calling other people outsiders, because in this country, nobody is going anywhere. We are all here to stay. And if we are to stay, make sure that you fix your politics, do your campaigns very well. But when we, as a commission, we hear you uttering language that pits one community against the other, pits one religion against the other, pits one race against the other, then we will come after you, and because that's not the direction we want to go.
There are times you pick a newspaper or look at a news item in the TV and you can see it's been influenced one way or the other, maybe tribal political parties. There's still the remnants of what we saw in 2007. It really messed the media. The media was messed up since then because we always find those biases.
Ukabila upo Kenya. Ukabila upo. Maki hata ukiangalia hivi vyama ni kama pia vinaenda katika ukabila. Ukabila Kenya uko, na hiyo ndio kitu ambayo inatufanya sisi pia tuwe kwamba saa zote tunavutana na hakuna amani. Ukabila upo. Manake siku zote mtu kabla hajaingia kwa chama tangalia kinaongozwa na kabila gani. Ni nani kiongozi? Ni nani anafanya hivi?
I would say that the tribal realignment in Kibera has something to do with the past violences. Like there have been differences among political leaders in the past, and these differences are carried forward to the new leaders that are currently vying for different positions. And every tribe always want to stand with their own, whether they are good candidates or not. So looking into it, it is one of the major causes of violence, because one tribe will always force in a wrong leader who comes from their own tribe, because it is a leader from their tribe, and they think that leader will defend them or will protect them when they arise in power.
One of the problems that we have had is where in this country resources follow leadership. And then people, because they have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that one of their own is in charge, because when they are in charge, resources will follow them. Our work now is to make sure that that is not the case, and that anybody can be the president, can be prime minister of this country, and you don't have to worry whether it comes from your ethnicity or not, because what is rightfully yours you will get, and when you don't get it, the commission will make sure that that is corrected.
In other cases, you find some tribes being favored than others when it comes to some provision of social services. So we feel that if we push our own into the political post, then we will also be favored when it comes to other social services. For instance, I would mention few services like access to constituency bursaries to support students that are in school. you cannot access that bursary if you're not coming from a certain tribe. Or there are other services like healthcare services. So you can only access some services like that when the service providers are coming from your tribe and they know you.
Land is an emotive issue in Kenya because really the people see it as the only source of livelihood. So where land is involved, there are a lot of entrenched interests. But also the fact that during the colonial days, a lot of land was appropriated from the communities. And when, after independence, that land did not go to those communities. Instead, it was taken by political elite, of African elite who came to power. And a lot of people have felt denied this issue.
The land in itself is not a cause of conflict. Land becomes an issue when a given community, a given group is mobilized around that land and it is made to look like it is a grievance.
Kwa matatizo ambayo tumepata sisi watu wa Kuria, sehemu za Ntimaru sana ni matatizo zaidi ni vita vinatokea kuhusu maneno ya ardhi. Sasa ikaendelea mpaka sasa hivi Masai wakaita Kipsigisi hawakuwa hapa. Wamekuja mwaka 1959 ndio wamekuja hapa. Sasa wamewapa sehemu yetu hiyo ambayo sasa wametuwekea vita vya Kipsigisi na Wakuria. Tulichomea michi. Tulikuwa tunaishi hapo, tulikuwa tumeiza chenga mashule na tulikuwa tumeishi hakuna shida yoyote ile. Sasa tulipohamishwa ndio shida imekuwa nyingi. Hata wengine wetu sana wanaishi kwenye chemichemi ya maji, hawajapata sehemu ya kukaa mpaka sasa hivi.
When we have a problem like an issue of IDPs, these are Kenyans who need land, and if we have land in Taita Taveta, if we have land in Masai land, then we can have these people be settled there.
This is where we call Tuinuane Mitoni IDP camp. The people who are victims of post-election violence bought this land from the money they were given by the government as a compensation. These communities are from different communities. We have Kalenjin, we have Ruyas, we have Kikuyu, Kikisis. And after the post-election of violence, after buying this land, they are all settled here. And the government has bought another land whereby they have left some people here, some families here. And in other areas, they have settled them in 2.5 acres each.
So there are all these issues, but most of them, they become exacerbated by these ethnic loyalties.
The conference that we did, Disinheriting Conflict for Peaceful General Elections in 2012, its main purpose was to just interrogate the new administrative structures that we are having, the county government, just to understand that these levels of government or levels of administration are likely to face some challenge, given our major national challenges that we've been dealing with. For instance, the question of diversity, we've not been able to deal with it. And as we move forward as a nation, it appears that we are becoming more ethnic sensitive. So the question was, is devolution a solution to some of these national challenges? So we wanted to interrogate the nation and just find out what are some of the dynamics, what are some of the trends that are emerging. It turned out that people are so much looking inward, looking at counties as their own. And one of the questions we were asking, what will become of the Kenyan nation? What is the impact of the devolution on the Kenyan nation, the Kenyan state? Are we gonna see ourselves disintegrating into our own tribal enclaves, or is there something remain as what people might want to call Kenya. And many people are asking why, after 50 years, we fight along tribal lines, we play our politics along tribal lines. So the question is, how is devolution going to help us solve these problems, or are we simply going to devolve the national problems to this new unit?
We may be decentralizing or devolving tribalism, and we need to do something about that, because the effect of that decentralization of tribalism is what took us to the I don't know what to call it, to what we had in 2008, and it's I don't want to use the word dogs because it's not very pleasant, but essentially we need to talk these matters more honestly and more openly, because it's not tribe that's our problem, it's tribalism. But it's not even tribalism that's the problem. The problem is an issue of resource distribution. And we in the political class, yes, we use ethnicity, because if you do not use ethnicity, at least in this country, you will not go far. You will remain a professional nominated MP such as myself, because if you don't have a tribe, you don't have the voting masses behind you.
Let me tell you, when I see my little nieces telling me who go to schools in Nairobi, telling me how the neighboring kid is a Kikuyu, and then the other kid is a Kikuyu or a Kisi or a Luo, which I didn't know when I grew up, it doesn't have to do with Raila. It has to do with you. So if you want to start making excuses for our misbehavior and our bad behavior as Kenyans, and blaming it, or as human beings, and blaming it on politicians, we will never change. If you say something negative in your house about somebody else because of their ethnicity, don't blame it on a politician, because we all know we do it in the comfort of our houses.
I belong to that age group that is contaminated. And when I say contaminated, it's because we are responsible. My generation and those above me are responsible of the lack of peace that we are not enjoying in this country.
One of the reasons why we thought bringing these people together was important was because ours was to have these people distill this information and have each one of them walk away with certain amount of information that will help them in their own respective areas where they're working. And for sure, we were able to see a conversation created around some of the major findings. Of course, the question of tribalism stood out in the conference. The question of reconciliation came up, and people were like, after 50 years, we seem so divided than ever before.
The research that forms the basis of our discussion today, the effects of tribalism on the devolved governance system, is an indicator that our country is far from unity and national cohesion. The formation of numerous ethnic political groupings is a key factor that is worrying. There are a lot of small little ethnic groupings fighting politicals being shed. Some of them I've never known who are the members. Some of them I don't know when they are at their meetings. Some of them I never saw them do any public rallies to raise funds, and yet they can move left, right, and center, preaching the gospel of the future prosperity, but sowing seeds of dissension.
As Kenyans, until we stop pointing fingers, we can do all the laws that we want to do. We can have all the conferences we want to have. We can set up all commissions and they'll talk to us. We will have truth, justice, and reconciliation. We will have national cohesion. And as Lillian says, we will write all laws on integrity, but nothing will change, because change will start with you.
There is hope in this country, because we have all come out of our cocoons. And now I know, with this report, which was done by people who spoke their heart out. The peace that we are seeking is not going to be given by politicians, including me. It is not going to be given by our opinion leaders. They all say they are looking at church leadership to take up the mantle and move the process forward.